The miracle doctor won't be a kept man. Chapter 21. Shut up! Snow threw the blanket at Kiran. Kiran grabbed it again and teased her. Now that you don't have anything else to throw at me, why don't you throw yourself into my arms? What? Considering the photo you sent me, I'm pretty sure you'd weigh approximately 2.5 million $1 bills. Kiran laughed, threw the pillow and blanket on the bed and ran out. You pervert. Just you wait, Snow shouted angrily. She felt that her image as the aloof CEO crumbled to bits in front of Kiran. Half an hour later, both of them went downstairs. Even so, Snow was still angry, but she could do nothing about Kiran. The employees did not know that both of them had argued with each other. They greeted them and were really hospitable toward Kiran. When Snow saw that Kiran was even more warmly received by her employees, she felt shocked and puzzled. Then she came to know that half an hour earlier, Kiran had visited the entire company, and he had put on a serious facade during his visitation. He did not make any perverse comments either, so the employees had a good impression of him. Thus, the employees were polite toward him. Kiran waved at the employees like he was meeting old friends. I'm going back to have dinner with Snow. You should go back earlier for dinner too. What are you going to do after dinner? Some of the bolder female employees teased him. Take a guess, Kiran said while feigning an air of mystery. Have sex? They laughed. Everyone laughed except Snow. She remained silent. She sucked in a deep breath and was about to blow up. The employees reacted quickly and left in a jiffy. Some of them still turned around and shouted, Good luck, Kiran. Make her fall for your skills. Have kids soon. I'm reducing all of your pay. Snow was so angry that she stomped her feet. I'll give you bonuses tomorrow, Kiran laughed and shouted back. Die! Snow felt that her virtue was gone at this point, and she yelled at Kiran. Kiran did not back down and raised his chin while he shouted, Then let's cancel our N. Snow quickly covered Kiran's mouth and felt livid. He was threatening her again. The employees did not know this. They just thought that they were having a lover's spat and teased them again. Snow was about to lose it. She simply did not know how to deal with Kiran. When they arrived at Snow's car, Snow was about to get in when Kiran walked over and patted her red Ferrari. He looked like he really liked it and was envious of Snow's car. Snow scoffed in her heart. You really are a frog in the well. Yeah, it's not as good looking as the $50 million limited edition Ferrari. Kiran looked disappointed. Meanwhile, Kiran grabbed her keys, sat in the driver's seat, and started the engine. Snow was puzzled. You know how to vroom. The car shot forward like an arrow. Snow was shocked and screamed. Kiran made the car do a perfect drift to return to the spot in front of her. Get in. You know how to drive? Snow opened the car door and asked in shock. Are you mentally challenged up there too? Kiran asked. What do you mean? Snow asked instinctively. Kiran said nothing and just drummed his finger against the steering wheel. Snow dug her fingers into her hair and felt rage burning in her again. Why did she always act so stupid in front of Kiran? That drift and steady driving speed already made it clear that he knew how to drive. She came to the sudden realization that she should not have lured Kiran down from the mountain. He was real trouble. She had been so dumb. When Kiran drove out of the parking lot, 3 cars soon followed behind them. Chapter 22. Kiran saw the cars behind them through the rearview mirror and frowned. He intentionally slowed down. The 3 cars slowed down too. When he sped up, the 3 cars sped up as well. Kiran sneered. Since he did not know how to go to the Xander family's mansion and had not asked Snow for directions yet, he decided to drive into the alleyways. At this point, Snow noticed that he was driving in the wrong direction and realized that she had not told him where her house was. You're driving in the wrong direction. I'll pull up a navigation app for you. Kiran had already stopped driving. When Snow saw that he had parked the car in an alleyway, she thought that Kiran was thinking about doing something perverse, and she stared at him warily. What are you planning to do? If I didn't do anything to you in the office, I won't be doing anything here, Kiran said while staring at her like she was an idiot. Snow fell silent and puffed up her cheeks. Suddenly, Kiran said very seriously, You can, however, bring down the sun visor and block my sight with it. I won't be able to see your face, and we can. Die. Snow trembled in rage and was about to unbuckle her seatbelt to hit Kiran. Was she that ugly? He did not even want to see her face. Even if he was the type to care about looks, he should not say those things to someone as beautiful as she was. Yup, That's what I'll be doing. Kiran unbuckled his seatbelt and got out to move to the back of the car. Snow was stunned. 3 Land Rovers stopped at the entrance to the alleyway and blocked it. The door opened, and more than 10 bald men got out. Snow realized that they were in a bad situation, and she got down as well. She pulled at Kiran's sleeve to stop him. Who are they? Stay out of this. Kiran removed Snow's hand from his sleeve and went to the men. Snow stared at Kiran's back and suddenly felt herself idolizing him. She felt like she was looking at those cool main characters in movies. In fact, she was already imagining Kiran in a black trench coat and could even hear the OST of Natrix playing in her head. Soon, she chased those thoughts away from her mind and grew worried. Could Kiran win against them? Was Fabian taking revenge? Kiran grinned wickedly and regarded the bald men scornfully. His expression provoked the bald men, and their leader scoffed at him before hissing, "You're laughing before your death? You're such an idiot. We should just kill him and throw his corpse into the sea," the bald man beside him said and swung his baton at Kiran's head. Snow screamed, but in the next second, her fear was replaced by shock. Kiran had grabbed the leader's neck. The one who attacked him had missed. He staggered and nearly fell to the ground. Is he even human? Snow wondered. "Let me go, fucker. If you don't, we'll take our sweet time with your wife once we kill you." The leader continued yelling at him even though his neck was in Kiran's hands. "You're not scared of dying?" Kiran laughed. "Are you an idiot? You're the idiot." The leader flew into a rage and struggled to break free. "You're in my hands now and you're still yelling at me. You're definitely an idiot." Kiran tightened his grip. "Ow." The leader felt like his neck was about to snap. The other men stayed rooted in place. They could not attack Kiran, but they could not retreat either. They were put on the spot. "Tell me, who's the idiot here?" Kiran asked calmly. The leader was numb with pain. He was certain that if he did not give Kiran the answer he wanted, he would snap his neck. "I'm the idiot." Chapter 23. Kiran smiled. "You sure are. Why would you come fight me out of the blue? Only idiots would do that." But he let go. The leader was surprised. Kiran actually spared him. When he regained his freedom, he was delighted, and he stood up straight to yell at Kiran again. "F*** you, you idiot!" He swung his baton at Kiran's head. Snow shut her eyes. She felt that Kiran was an idiot too. Why did he choose not to run after subjugating the leader? Why did he let him go instead? He was just asking for death. Kiran just watched the baton get closer to him and did not dodge it. He just raised his right leg and kicked the leader's elbow. With a loud snap, the leader's arm broke like a twig. "Ah!" The leader screamed in pain. His baton fell to the ground while he cradled his broken arm and rolled around in pain. The other men were left dumbstruck. Their hands were slick with sweat. Snow had only managed not to scream because she covered her mouth. She then stared at Kiran like he was a god. Kiran remained calm and looked at the ones remaining. "Does anyone else want to be an idiot?" The other men exchanged looks before they shook their heads. Terrified, they threw their batons on the ground. "Who are you?" Kiran asked. Kiran then looked at the leader. "Why don't you tell me?" "Screw you!" "I." Snap. They heard the sound of bones breaking again. "Ah!" The man's other arm was broken. Kiran returned to his spot. "I do so love breaking wild boars' limbs and bringing them back for dinner. That way, their blood will drain entirely, and their flesh will taste even better," Kiran said calmly. The other men moved back in fear as if Kiran was a demon. "Do I need to repeat myself?" Kiran asked darkly. Someone caved into the pressure and answered, "We're from glorious security. I don't care where you work, nor do I care who sent you. I'm just going to tell you one thing," Kiran said coolly. What is it?" the leader asked while enduring the pain. He was no longer as arrogant as before. "Don't be an idiot," Kiran said in a domineering fashion. The men were scared out of their wits. Kiran then returned to the car. The men remained rooted to the spot. They looked lost as well as scared. They had never met someone so strong before. "Tell your CEO that I do like the idea of throwing corpses into oceans," Kiran then said. The men could feel murderous intent rolling out of Kiran in waves, and some of them fell on their butts. Kiran stepped on the accelerator, and the Ferrari charged away with a dull roar. Since he had only just arrived at Bayville, Kiran did not know the political situation of the city, which was why he did not kill them and only terrorized them. But he did know that these men were either sent by Victor or Fabian. Regardless of who sent them, anyone who attacked him like an idiot would get far worse than this next time. Of course, he did want more of these people to come forward. This way, he could lure out the mastermind. The men only recovered from their fear when the Ferrari left. They fell on their butts as if gravity had yanked them down. They even forgot to run away. When they eventually realized they should run, they scrambled into their cars and left. Snow looked at Kiran as if he was a monster. He had been so cool when he attacked the leader just now, but his methods were too gory. Wasn't I cool? Kiran was whistling. Snow said nothing and chose instead to scream in her head. Chapter 24. Snow said nothing on their way back. She did not want to talk to him for fear of Kiran saying something that would make her mad. Kiran said nothing as well. He looked as if he did not like Snow at all and wanted to divorce her. Half an hour later, Kiran parked the car outside the Xander family's mansion. It was a 5-story building with a garden bigger than 1,000 square feet. Added together, the mansion, courtyard, and garden were thousands of square feet big. It was a place truly worthy of being known as an estate. Kiran stared at the mansion and did not drive in. It was as if he was dumbstruck. Snow sneered. Her eyes were full of scorn as she thought. He's a country bumpkin, all right. He's at a loss for words just by looking at the mansion. Suddenly, Kiran turned to Snow. "Do you have sisters?" Surprised, Snow shook her head. "I'm an only child." Kiran sighed regretfully. "What's wrong?" Snow asked curiously. "If you had sisters, I would have divorced you and married one of them. Then, I'd inherit the mansion and Xander Corporation in the future." Kiran said so naturally and in such great disappointment that it sounded like he just lost several $billion. Snow was livid. She had seen greedy people before, but Kiran was far greedier than any of them, and he actually had the gall to say it out loud. "You bastard." Kiran shrugged innocently as he stared at Snow's murderous gaze. "It's still better than some ugly." Snow quickly covered his mouth. Kiran did not break free this time. Instead, he looked at the balcony of the second floor. He had only teased Snow because he saw Harold looking over. When Snow looked in the direction of his gaze, she saw her grandfather smiling, and her face turned red. She whispered, "If you call me ugly, I'm going to fight you. I don't mind not calling you ugly so long as you agree to cancel our engagement and divorce me," Kiran said smugly. Snow felt like she was about to boil over in rage. She just could not understand it. All she did was Photoshop a picture. Why was he so insistent on canceling their engagement and getting a divorce? "Hello." She was the most beautiful woman in Bayville. "You won't? I'm going to call you ugly then." Kiran threatened her. Snow was livid. Kiran had kissed her 3 times and still wanted to cancel their engagement. She felt like she had been dumped. "Fine, you win. I swear it, you bastard." Feeling proud of himself, Kiran whistled. He came here to cancel their engagement and get a divorce. The threat had worked. He succeeded in canceling their engagement. If his master had come here before he succeeded in canceling their engagement, he would never be able to get a divorce. As for Snow, she refused to let anyone in the family hear about this. They drove into the courtyard. Harold had heard about Snow kissing Kiran, but he refused to believe it. When he saw them having an affectionate lover's spat with each other, he felt happy and waved at them. "Come up." Kiran and Snow got out of the car and then went to the balcony on the second floor. Harold looked at Kiran and Snow kindly, and he felt happy. They were a match made in heaven. Kiran cleared his throat. "Mr. Harold, you did me dirty yesterday." Harold did not mind Kiran accusing him of deceiving him. Instead, he laughed and asked kindly, "And how did I do you dirty? I saved your life, but you tricked me into marrying her, even though you knew that I came here to cancel my engagement with Snow." "That's not right." Kiran was not happy. "Kiran, you're crossing the line. I'm the one who wants nothing to do with you." Snow was not expecting Kiran to talk about this the moment he met Harold. She felt like he was stomping on her pride, and she yelled at him, but Harold just beckoned at her to back down. Very calmly, he said, "I can understand why you're cross with me and why you're demanding why I did what I did, but I did nothing wrong." Chapter 25. "Oh?" Kiran was puzzled. "Your master and I arranged a marriage between you and Snow. I have to keep my promise, isn't that right?" Harold asked. Kiran nodded. "And I kept my promise, yes?" Harold asked again. Kiran nodded. "Shouldn't you be thanking me then?" Harold asked with a laugh. "That's different. Why should I thank you? I'm here to cancel our engagement." Kiran corrected him. Kiran York. I have plenty of men who want to marry me. I don't have to marry you. Snow flew into a rage because of what Kiran said and hissed. At that moment, a woman's voice came from the door. That's right. Snow has plenty of rich men lining up to win her heart. Who do you think you are? She sounded sarcastic. Kiran looked in the direction of the voice. A woman in her 40s, who was dressed like she was in her 30s, came in. Her face was covered in such thick makeup that he could not see what she really looked like. While the woman seemed like she was standing up for Snow, Snow looked miffed when she saw the woman. Have you lost your mind, Dad? Why would you make Snow marry someone like him? You've just turned the entire Xander family into a laughingstock. The woman grumbled at Harold. Don't say that, Susan, Harold said in displeasure. Why can't I? It's the truth. Susan Xander, Snow's aunt, stood next to Kiran and pointed at his clothes. We bought these clothes for you yesterday, didn't we? You wouldn't have been able to buy it otherwise. She then went to Snow's side and put her hand on Snow. Look at Snow. She's the most beautiful woman in Bayville, and she has countless admirers. She already married you, and you're still not content? As if she had not criticized Kiran enough, she sneered and said, I'm sure you've seen how Mr. Fabian proposed to Snow. I'm not even going to talk about how rich the Ziegler family is just yet. We'll just talk about those roses. Can you even afford them? Can you afford the $50 million limited edition Ferrari as well? I don't think so. That's a car you'd never be able to buy even if you don't spend a single penny for the rest of your life. You're just a poor peasant, and you've now married into our family to be a kept man. Even so, you want to cancel your engagement and get a divorce? Did you actually think all of us would believe you? Susan's words grew increasingly harsh, and Harold's expression turned increasingly dark as well. Snow's expression turned cold as well. Aunt Susan, don't stick your nose into my business. Your business. Listen to yourself, my silly niece. This is everyone's business. The Xander family is in trouble right now, and we're all counting on you. Why did you marry a poor peasant like him? We're done for. Susan became even more worked up and pointed at Kiran. If you're a real man and really want to divorce Snow, do it. Stop pretending like you're a saint when you're after Snow and our wealth. Susan, you're crossing the line, Harold warned her with a displeased growl. Dad, I'm doing this for our sake. If you really allow Snow to be with him, we're doomed, Susan said earnestly. Aunt Susan, think before you speak. Snow warned her as well with a cold expression, but Susan only got angrier in the face of Kiran's silence. Divorce Snow already. You're in her way of marrying Mr. Fabian. Snow's expression soured. Aunt Susan, I'm never going to marry Fabian. Snow, the Ziegler family is the only family that can save us. If you marry him, we'll be a family, Susan advised her. I'm already married. Snow raised her voice to stress these words, and he wants to get a divorce. Besides, a poor peasant like him can never buy a Ferrari for you. Not only will he be unable to help you, but you'll also need to provide for him, Susan said resolutely. Suddenly, Kiran snickered. Chapter 26. Why are you laughing? Are you seriously that shameless? Susan boiled in rage and shouted at Kiran. To her, a kept man had no right to laugh. Kiran said calmly, I understand what you're saying. You're saying that I'm poor and have no right to marry Snow, isn't that right? Exactly, Susan sneered and nodded. You have some semblance of a brain, at least. Why exactly are you calling me poor? Kiran retorted as if he was staring at an idiot. Susan scoffed. Are you saying you're not poor? What do you have? A house? A car? Money? If I had those things, would I be rich enough? Kiran asked mockingly. Of course. Susan remained proud and scornful. How worldly and unrefined. Kiran continued mocking her. Susan was stunned, but her rage made her lose her rationality. What right did Kiran have to say that to her? Kiran ignored her and looked at Snow. How much did I give you after kissing you once, honey? Honey? Goosebumps broke out on Snow's skin, but Kiran was completely relaxed. The more Susan looked down on him and demanded he divorce Snow, the more he would insist on calling Snow his wife. He would allow no one to humiliate him. I can't believe you'd have the gall to even talk about the kiss. Susan had already heard about the kiss at the company entrance, and her face was full of disgust and disdain. $10 million, Snow answered with a flushed face. Wait, how much for one kiss? Susan thought she had misheard what Snow said. He gave me $10 million for one kiss. After kissing me 3 times, he gave me $50 million. Snow's face turned even redder, but she had to help Kiran because she hated her materialistic aunt. Harold was so shocked that he felt faint. When he looked at Kiran, his gaze was full of puzzlement. How did he get that kind of money? He had not said anything to test Kiran, but Kiran bought Snow's kisses with $50 million? How generous. Ahaha. Even if you're lying, you should make your story a little more believable. There's no way I'd believe you. Susan was sure they were lying and scoffed at them. I'll buy 5 more kisses from you, honey. Kiran then slammed another $50 million check on the table. When Snow heard that he wanted 5 more kisses, she felt tense. But when she saw the check, she was so shocked, she did not know what to say. It was another check from Prospera Group. Just how much money did Victor give Kiran? A check? It's fake, isn't it? Susan was shocked, but she still refused to believe it. She grabbed the check in disgust and wanted to prove it was false. But when she truly looked at it, she found that it was real, and she quickly shut her mouth. Even so, she did not want to admit that she was wrong, and she sneered. This is the $50 million Prospera Group owes us, isn't it? She waved the check in Kiran's face and mocked him. You bought Snow's kisses with our money? I can't believe you'd do such a thing. You're seriously so shameless. Then she looked at Harold. Dad, a lying scumbag like him isn't suited for Snow. If she gets married to him, he'll just end up destroying our family. Snow, listen to me. Stay away from him. He's just a man with no morals. Kiran then threw another check at Snow. Here's another $50 million. Do whatever you want with it, honey. Snow had originally wanted to say that Kiran had already given her the $50 million check Prospera Group had owed them. But when she saw Kiran handing out another $50 million check to him, she felt faint. Prospera Group only owed them $50 million, but Kiran managed to get $200 million from them. How did he manage to do it? Susan had thought that the first check was the $50 million Prospera Group had owed them, but when she saw Kiran procuring another $50 million check, she was stunned as well. But she could not understand it. How did Kiran get so much money? You got $200 million from Prospera Group? Snow was so shocked that her face turned pale. $200 million? Both Harold and Snow looked at Kiran in shock and disbelief. Didn't I tell you? Victor said I was handsome and gave me money to get myself a sugar baby. You just didn't believe me. Kiran teased her. Kiran's teasing took her by surprise. She did not expect him to do this even now. Snow shut her eyes and held back her desire to tear at Kiran as she thought. He's going to drive me to an early grave. Chapter 27. Harold's eyes lit up. In fact, he was happy. He found himself growing to like Kiran even more. But Susan looked like someone had shoved something rotten down her throat because it left a bad taste in her mouth. She also felt like that same someone had shoved cotton in her chest because she could not breathe well. She had wanted to mock and provoke Kiran, but he threw $100 million in her face. Yet she did not want to admit that she was wrong, and she sneered. How did you get that money? Besides, you wouldn't have been able to get it if Prospera Group hadn't owed us money in the first place. How much do the companies in Bayville owe your family? And how much money did you manage to collect from them? Kiran mocked her right back. Susan was speechless. She did not manage to get any money back. You truly are worthy of being Snow's husband? Not bad. Harold praised him. How exactly is he not bad? Susan sneered. If he's really that good, have him collect all the money the other companies owe us. That way, we can repay our loan to the bank 7 days later, and we'd still have money to spare. Xander Corporation won't be in danger either. Don't put him on the spot, Aunt Susan. When Snow remembered just how powerful their creditors were, she stopped Susan. Notify all your creditors that I'll be collecting money from them tomorrow. Kiran agreed to it readily. Snow flew into a rage. Why was Kiran marching to his own death? What an idiot. Do you want to die? In her worry and anxiety, Snow frowned. When Kiran saw Snow's concern, he felt a little touched, but he remained steadfast in his resolution. He would divorce her. Worried that Kiran would go back on his word, Snow quickly said, I'll tell them right now. She left in a hurry. Harold did not stop her. You. Snow glared at him through gnashed teeth. Her face was red with rage as she thought about how stupid Kiran was. Snow, ask Mrs. Lawrence whether she has finished preparing dinner. Harold changed the topic. Snow knew that Harold was sending her away, but since she did not want to leave without showing Kiran her displeasure, She glared at him before she left. Even though Kiran frustrated the hell out of her so much that she wanted to stab him, she still felt great when she saw how cool Kiran had been just now. In fact, she felt like he had taken revenge for her. You. It would be better if he died, Snow mumbled under her breath the moment she shut the door. Only Harold and Kiran remained on the balcony. Kiran said, "Once I help you wade through the storm, I'm canceling my engagement with Snow and getting a divorce with her." Harold continued smiling kindly and did not react to Kiran's words. "Tell me who your enemies are." Kiran did not beat around the bush and went straight to the topic. "The three big families of Bayville intend to absorb us. We're on the verge of collapse," Harold said calmly. "I'll deal with them for you." Kiran was confident. "I trust you, but I have an additional condition," Harold said. "What is it?" "Help the Xander family develop Bayville Dragon's Mount. So long as you do, I won't interfere with whatever you decide to do about your relationship with Snow," Harold said. He looked hopeful. "Bayville Dragon's Mount?" Kiran asked for verification. He had heard from Victor that the Marsh family wanted it. Harold nodded. 20 years ago, the York family bought Bayville Dragon's Mount. They wanted to show off their strength through Dragon's Mount. Unfortunately for them, not only did they fail, but they were also destroyed. The mountain came into our possession later on, but we never dared to develop it. This was the second time today that Kiran had heard about the York family, and he became curious because they shared the same family name. However, he did not give it much thought beyond that. "Don't worry, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get a divorce." "And I believe you," Harold said. Kiran nodded. Later on, Harold talked to Kiran about the political situation in Bayville and the three big families. After they had dinner together, Snow and Kiran left. Chapter 28. "Where are you going?" Snow opened the door and looked at the drunk Kiran, who was sitting in the passenger's seat. "Your house," he replied calmly. "My house?" Snow immediately got angry. "I gave you $200 million. You even took the $1 million that I wanted to spend on getting myself a sugar baby. Where do you expect me to stay?" Kiran asked as if he was in the right. "You..." Snow could not find a reason to argue. With that kind of money, he could have lived in a high-end villa in Bayville, driven a luxury car, and even enjoyed the company of a few sugar babies. She took a deep breath and comforted herself. "Fine, I'll let him stay for a few days. Don't worry, I'm not interested in you." Kiran paused for a moment, then continued, "You must promise not to seduce me. I'm a pure-hearted man. I'm not like those guys who are okay with any woman." Snow wanted to take back her words and even thought of driving off the cliff with him in it. She had never met such a narcissistic man. "For now, I'll be at Xander Corporation to help you through the crisis. Once it's resolved, we'll divorce." "Mr. Xander has already agreed to it," Kiran said. Snow's expression turned dark, and she said in an icy cold voice, "It's not like I wanted to marry you anyway." She slammed on the accelerator and drove home. She lived in a 3-bedroom apartment in Marina Breeze Court. It spanned over 100 square meters, and its interior was well decorated with a domestic and unique ambiance. Kiran took a glance around after entering. He noticed the predominant pink hues and chuckled. "Huh, who would have thought that you have such girly tastes?" "I am a girl," Snow retorted as she rolled her eyes at him. "No need to explain. I'm not interested in you. It's none of my concern whether it's your first time bringing a man home or not." He took off his shoes and put on a pair of pink slippers. Snow stood frozen in the doorway. "Stop being so self-absorbed. It's not like I wanted you to be the first man I brought home. I never would have thought you were thinking of bringing some other man here. Are you trying to cheat on me?" Kiran turned and laughed. "First. You..." She was on the brink of losing her temper. Isn't he the one who said that? She thought. Kiran stretched his arms over his head. "I'm going to take a shower. Don't try to sneak in." He removed his coat and headed to the bathroom. Snow felt like she was going insane. Is he a lunatic or an idiot? This was her house. He put on her house slippers and told her not to take advantage of him? Did he really think he was some sort of Prince Charming? He was just a freaking loser. "Here, take these. I won't have you going around accusing me of being a pervert." Kiran came out shirtless. He was holding a bunch of female undergarments. He tossed them onto the couch. Snow was speechless. She glared at him and was truly tempted to kill him. Kiran hurriedly covered his chest with his hands. "Don't have any weird thoughts. I don't want to sleep with you." "Go to hell." Snow could not hold back her rage any longer. She grabbed a bag on the shoe rack and flung it at him. He caught it, but the bag was facing downwards. A heap of things fell out with a loud crash. Among them was a box of condoms. Kiran widened his eyes in disbelief. He exclaimed loudly, "You are trying to sleep with me, aren't you?" Snow was equally shocked when she saw what fell out of her bag. She had no idea it was even in there. Harold must have asked Donna to sneak it in. With a flushed face, she hurriedly went over to grab it and threw it out the window. "Hey, be careful. You're going to hurt someone," he yelled. "Mind your own." "What the feck? Who threw this?" a man downstairs yelled. Snow covered her mouth in shock. Kiran laughed at her. Snow was left speechless. She felt like the epitome of a tragic clown in front of him. She glared at him with only one impulsive and violent thought in mind: kill him. Kiran, on the other hand, was whistling on his way to the shower. He seemed relaxed. In the hospital, Fabian's expression was ice cold. Did the Onyx clan fail? Chapter 29. His subordinate said, "That's not all." Susan Xander called everyone in Bayville who still owes the Xander family money. She demanded that they repay the money tomorrow. Otherwise, what happened to Prospera Group will happen to them. The nerve of that boy, Fabian fumed. The Onyx clan has gotten back to us. They said that they will definitely take care of this, so rest assured. Tell Onyx not to bother coming to see me if they can't get the job done, Fabian said coldly. Notify the bank to start collecting debts tomorrow. All the money owed to the bank must be repaid. If they don't pay by tomorrow, proceed to auction off Xander Corporation. Yes, sir, the subordinate said and went to make a phone call. Fabian's gaze was indifferent. Are you going to come begging me to show mercy, Snow? I'm not going to let you slip through my fingers, not after I've set my sights on you. Meanwhile, at the Onyx clan, Onyx's sharp gaze was filled with fierce, murderous intent. He was a brawny man with a thick waist and was around 40 years old. The people who were in charge of attacking Kiran just now were kneeling on the floor. The leader's arm was broken. He trembled in pain and did not dare to utter a word. Worthless. All of you are worthless. Mr. Fabian is looking down on us. Onyx's face turned a steely shade of red as he yelled at them. Sir, he's too good and agile. None of us was a match for him, the leader said bitterly. What a waste of space. How dare you still stay here and try to sow discord? Feed him to the sharks, Onyx yelled. Have mercy, sir, the leader begged. However, some subordinates had already stepped forward. They pulled him up and dragged him away mercilessly. Tell everyone who owes the Xander family money to gather at Neptune's Cove tomorrow. We'll teach that brat a lesson over there. All they need to do is to give us 10% of what they owe Xander Corporation, Onyx commanded angrily. Yes, sir, the subordinate responded and went to make arrangements. He might be tough, but we're hundreds of people strong. We can still crush him. Onyx had a dominating presence. Yeah! The members shouted in unison as if they were injected with adrenaline. The Onyx clan was prepared to beat Kiran to a pulp. Susan was extremely excited when she learned about this. She immediately called Snow to inform her. Snow was showering, so she did not pick up her call. She texted her instead. She asked Snow to tell Kiran to meet her at Neptune's Cove tomorrow. Snow came out of the shower wrapped in a bath towel. Her expression changed when she read the message. They were obviously asking him to walk into a death trap. She grabbed her phone and rushed to Kiran's room. She did not even bother to get dressed first. Kiran did not lock his door. He was barely dressed as he lay in bed. As he was drifting to sleep, Snow pushed the door open and barged in. He flushed when he saw her fair skin, but he quickly covered himself and shouted, "Don't you dare come any closer." Snow was momentarily taken aback before she felt rage burn in her. "You filth! I'll never fall for you. I would rather fall for an animal." Then, "Why are you seducing me?" Kiran smirked. "I told you earlier, even if you strip naked, I won't be interested. You, just go to hell already." She was so angry that she wanted to storm off. But when she remembered why she came in here, she turned to him and said, "The Onyx clan told everyone who owes the Xander family money to gather at Neptune's Cove tomorrow. You'll be going there to collect the money from them." "Nice. They sure have really good organization skills," Kiran said with no hint of fear. Snow's eyes were filled with rage, and she thought to herself, "He's such an idiot." She suppressed her anger and said, "The Onyx clan is the most powerful organization in Bayville. They're the kingpins of the underground and have hundreds of members. Are you afraid that you'll become a widow? Kiran was puzzled as he interrupted her. In an instant, Snow's concern vanished. She felt like she was about to erupt like a volcano. She took a deep breath to try to suppress her anger. But as a result, her towel fell. Chapter 30. Her beautiful figure was displayed in full. There was a brief silence before a loud scream echoed in the room. However, Kiran was the one who screamed. Snow, who initially wanted to scream, was stunned. She stared blankly at him. "You're tempting me!" Kiran shouted as he quickly raised his hands to cover his face. Snow felt so outraged that she wanted to scream and hit him. But when she saw how Kiran covered his face and did not peek at all, her self-esteem took an even bigger blow. She was utterly embarrassed. She was the most beautiful woman in Bayville, and her charm went beyond just her looks. She also possessed a gorgeous figure. Yet this guy avoided her like she was a demon. What was wrong with him? "Kiran, piss off." She threw the towel at his head before storming off. She vowed not to divorce him unless he knelt down and begged her for it. She also wanted to humiliate him and vent at him before she divorced him. "Seducing me won't work. I'm absolutely going to divorce you," he yelled as he clutched the towel. Snow stumbled and nearly fell. "Dream on. Even if I dream, it won't be about you," he retorted without hesitation. Snow was so furious that she gave him the middle finger. He put down the towel, regained his composure, and smirked wickedly. "Yuck! I'll never fall for her," he reproached himself. He pulled back the curtains and gazed out into the dark night sky. He muttered to himself, "If this place is so corrupted, I'll get rid of all the corruption." He felt a surge of heroic determination. The next morning, Kiran had a loaf of bread and a carton of milk for his breakfast. Those were the only foods he could find. When Snow woke up and saw this, she ignored him and treated him as if he were her mortal enemy. He had been so crude last night. It was enough to drive her mad. After getting ready, the two of them went downstairs. He looked at her. "My toiletries, spare clothes, and other daily necessities are missing. Make sure to take care of it for me." "No need for that," she replied coldly. "I don't want to smell as bad as you," he laughed. You're probably going to die today. Buying all that would just be a waste of money," she cursed him. Even so, she was nervous and worried about him. "You're eager to see me dead, huh?" He could tell that she was worried, but he continued to tease her. "Do you really want to be a widow, or are you in a hurry to marry someone else?" If you are, just divorce me," he interrupted her. Then he closed his eyes and whistled. Snow could not help but wonder how she ended up with such a peculiar fiancé. No, not fiancé. He was her husband. Tears welled up in her eyes. Kiran walked up to her and extended his hand. "Give me $100. "For what?" Snow asked. She was still fuming. "I need to get a cab to Neptune's Cove," he replied casually. "You idiot! Do you really want to die?" She instinctively rebuked him. "Looks like you're afraid of becoming a widow," he teased before turning to leave. "I'm definitely divorcing you. You bastard!" She was furious but could not vent her anger. Kiran smirked. He deliberately provoked her so she would not follow him. After all, she should not meddle in his affairs. He arrived at Neptune's Cove an hour later. The place was eerily quiet, and the front door of Neptune's Cove was tightly shut. Perhaps it was because the place was active only at night. Many luxury cars were parked outside. It could easily pass for a car exhibition. The only thing missing was car models. As soon as Kiran appeared, the door of a Porsche swung open, and Victor stepped out. Today, he wore a black suit and had sunglasses on. Dressed like this, he looked like a proper boss of a company. As soon as he did so, the doors of the other luxury cars opened too. A group of men and women emerged. They were all dressed to the nines. Kiran glanced around with a smile. The car models are here, but they wore too much makeup and could not compare to Snow. The thought of her annoyed him. If it were not for the trauma he experienced from the photoshopped image, he might have been able to accept her as his wife. If he did not get a divorce, he might be reminded of that photoshopped image whenever he looked at her. Was he supposed to cover his eyes when they did the deed? The ugly image of Snow popped up in his mind again. If this continued, he would soon become a monk. Victor thought that Kiran would beg for mercy, but instead, he was smiling. This provoked Victor. He snorted and addressed the crowd. This is Snow Xander's husband. He came to collect debts from us. With just this one sentence, everyone's fury and attention were directed at him. A portly man by the name of Montel Lewis smirked and sneered. Did you fall for Snow's charms? Why are you collecting debts for the Xander family? Montel, what are you saying? The woman beside him giggled. Snow probably seduced him and convinced him to come here and act like some tough guy. Acting like a tough guy? That's a good one. I wonder how he will do that. Montel leered. A roar of laughter erupted. However, Kiran was not at all angry. He just looked at Montel and asked, "How much money do you owe the Xander Corporation?" Me? Montel looked at Kiran as if he were an idiot and said disdainfully, "I owe the Xander Corporation $100 million. Then, you better prepare $400 million. Kiran extended 4 fingers. 400 million? I'm not paying back a single penny. Montel was furious and continued to yell at Kiran. Are you out of your fucking mind? Well, that's $500 million for you now. Kiran smiled even more cheerfully. Yell at me again and I'll double the debt. If you have the money and don't mind giving it away, keep yelling. What the fuck? He's such an idiot. She definitely seduced him, a woman shouted. You would know, huh, Queenie? Montel laughed. Oh, stop it, Montel. They continued to humiliate Kiran while flirting with each other. Kiran remained calm and smiled. I don't know the name of your company, but prepare $1 billion. For every penny less, it'll cost you a finger. Montel was fuming. Fuck yo. The sound of a door opening interrupted him. The doors of Neptune's Cove opened and revealed what looked like the dark gates of hell. Mr. Onyx is going to kill you, you fucker. Montel became even more confident. Kiran's gaze swept over the crowd. Remember my name after today, I'm Kiran York. Everyone was stunned. Kiran had already started making his way into Neptune's Cove.